Sometimes they have like in the background, like the city or something.
Yeah, we do everything. Baruch Hashem. Okay. So we did have shir last night, Baruch Hashem. I know that it was a last minute thing, so we're gonna do a little bit of that chazara as well for anyone who didn't make it. We'll do it a drop faster for those who didn't make it, and then we'll get to do a new Gemara as well. So we're gonna really start from yesterday's Gemara, Chav Zayin Amud Beis. Tanu Rabbanan. Tanu Rabbanan were approximately 10 or 12 lines in the wide lines. First word in line is Kra. Tanu Rabbanan. Tanu Rabbanan. Here we go. Ma'isa b'Rabbalai. There was a story with Rabbalai. Shalach lakul b'nei Rav Eliezer Rabbi Belud. That he went to Makabel b'nei Rabbi. He went to greet his Rabbi in Lud. Beregel on Yantif. Amr Lai. So his Rabbi says to him, Elai. You're not amongst those that are shoivas, that rest. Haregel and Yantif. Shahaya Rav Eliezer Aimer, because Rav Eliezer held, Mishabeach ani, I praise, you know who he praised? Atzlanim, the lazy ones. She'ein yoitzim b'teim beregel, they wouldn't leave their house on Yantif. Why is that a good thing? Tersev says in the Torah, V'samachta ato beisecha. You got to rejoice with your household. So it's better to be lazy. Stay home and you're with your household. So Rav Elai, the Talmud, is coming to his Rebbe. He thinks he's doing a grace mitzvah, being mekabel b'nei Rabbi, and he's greeted with his Rebbe screaming at him. His Rebbe says, "What are you doing here? You should be home with your wife." Not such a geshmak greeting. Comments the Gemara. Eini, is this true that Rav Eliezer is teaching us it's better to stay home? Ve'amar Rav Yitzchak taught us minayin shechayv adam lakul b'nei Rabbi beregel. Rav Yitzchak taught us one is obligated to be mekabel b'nei Rabbi to see his Rabbi on Yantif. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Maduat oilachas eilav hayoim. Why are you coming here today? The Isha Shunamis is told by Elisha, Loi Chaydesh v'loi Shabbos. It's not Rosh Chodesh, it's not Shabbos. End of pasuk. So what can we infer from the pasuk? That he tells her, don't come because it's not Shabbos or Rosh Chodesh. Michlal, the obvious implication is what? Teve Chodesh v'Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh and Shabbos, mechayev inish like Bulei Abei Rabbi. You are obligated. So why is Rabbi Eliezer yelling at Rav Elai, what are you doing here? You should stay home. We see there is a chiyuv to Mekabel b'nei Rabbi. Answers the Gemara, Loi Kasha, 3 lines from the white lines. Ha da'azil va'asei b'yoyim. If you could go and come back on the same day, and as they say, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, go and see the Rebbe, and be home for Sukkot, to be v'samachta ato b'veisecha, to be together with your household. That's what you do. If the Rebbe lives in a different town and you're not going to make it home, then you should not on Sukkot, because on Sukkot is a different din. There's a din to be home with your Rebbetzin.
What
yes.
about going to Uman on Rosh Hashanah?
That's a Rosh Hashanah, so it says Chayret's mutter.
No, but if you don't make it back.
No.
You don't make it back home.
You don't make it back home. You don't make it back home. If I care, they brought a raya from here. It's only a din in Yantif, there's din in Simcha, and there are Torah that there's no din in Simcha and Rosh Hashanah, and they're hanging up their flag in this Gemara.
The Gemara that we learned a while ago,
yeah.
There we had Rabbi, and it was at night, and
so that's also a raya that Holch Rabbi is a mitzvah, but lav dafka in Yantif. And that just means there's always a mitzvah to be a Holch Rabbi, but it doesn't mean it's going to supersede.
It could be Cholamoid.
No, but excuse me, but it doesn't mean it supersedes. Yeah, but it doesn't mean it supersedes the din of Simcha. Maybe his wife was with him. How do we know? Maybe she was traveling with him. It's true. It's a good kasha.
Not because they slept at the banks of the river.
So?
Only men can do that.
Tanu Rabbanon. What? Shchodesh. Yeah. You know, it's wild. It sounds like, in Grada, even Lalach, it sounds that way, that one is a chiv every Shabbos to see the Rebbe. It's a little bit wild. You know, you have a Rebbe that lives a 20-minute walk. It sounds like you have an obligation to see him every Shabbos. It's a little bit extreme, but okay, listen, that's what it sounds like. Chayrik min Michael, though. There you go. This is, which Rav Eliezer is this? It's a good kasha. I was wondering the same thing as I was learning in an Erev like Maimer. I was wondering the same thing, and I'm not sure. There are klalim who's who and what's what, but I'm not sure. Tanu Rabbanan, here we go. Nacham Ma'isa, 2 lines from the wide lines. Ma'isa Rav Eliezer, Sheshavas B'Galil El Yoim. It was a story. Rav Eliezer spent Shabbos in the upper Galil, Besukasai Shel Yochanan B'Rabbaloi. In the Sukkah of Yochanan B'Rabbaloi, B'Kaisari, in Kaisari, V'Amrila B'Kaisari Yoin. Some say it was in Kaisari Yoin. Okay, so Rav Eliezer is hanging out with Yochanan, and they're in a Sukkah. And what happens? V'Giya Chamel Sukkah. Now, it's interesting that Sheshavas, Pashtus means he spent Shabbos there. That's what it sounds like. I mentioned that, as you'll see in the Gemara, it's going to be very interesting. But they're sitting in the Sukkah. V'Yigia Chamel Sukkah. And the sun comes to the Sukkah. So Amar Lai. So Rav Eliezer, so Yochanan asks his guest, Ma'u, what is the halacha? She'efrois aleha sadin. Am I allowed to spread over a sadin on the Sukkah? Now, what is his question? This is a nekuda, even those who heard this year from last night, we didn't really speak this out, because really from the Gemara's teretz this becomes clear, and we'll understand the Rashi. Rashi learns the kasha had nothing to do with sukkahs. It's not a kasha that, what do you mean, you're spreading over a sheet over your sukkah, you don't have a sukkah. The kasha is a din on Shabbos that you're not allowed to be moisef ala oil. You're not allowed to open an umbrella, you're not allowed to build a house, you're not allowed to put on a roof, and you're not allowed to add on to a roof. So the kasha that he was asking Rav Eliezer is, am I allowed to spread a sheet over the sukkah due to Hilchos Shabbos? Now, what's going on in Hilchos Sukkah is a good kasha. So he's potter anyways. Maybe. So then, so let's leave.
No, but then you would say there's a riot that you should be in a sukkah even with the...
Or no, maybe this is next up. So Taisus takes issue with this Rashi. Taisus takes issue, but let's get there. Continues the Gemara. Amar Lai, another one of the great responses of our Gemara. Rav Eliezer says, Ein l'chal kol shevet v'shevet Yisrael. There's no shevet in Klal Yisrael shloi hamin mimenu shevet that doesn't have a judge. Meaning, Rav Eliezer says to Yochanan, his host, what are you asking me? Ask your Rebbe. What are you asking me for? Okay, interesting answer. And then the meal continues. Higia chama l'chatzi sukkah. It was a pretty long meal. It takes some time for the sun to move. So the sun reaches half of the sukkah. Amar La, he asks again, Rav Eliezer, Ma'u shafrei salah sadin, can I spread over a sheet? Amar La, he responds again, Ein l'chol kol shevet v'shevet Yisrael sheyatzu menu neviim. What are you asking me? Shevi Yehuda Binyamin hamin malachim al pi neviim. So what are you asking me? There are leaders. I am not yours. Go and ask someone else. Higia chama lemargelo Yisaf. The chama reaches all the way to their leg, shel Rav Eliezer, till the feet of Rav Eliezer. Again, let's just remember. So what happens? Natal, who's the host, is Yochanan. Rav Eliezer is the guest. Yochanan keeps on asking Rav Eliezer, is he allowed to spread over the sheet? The sun gets all the way. Natal Yochanan's fed up. He's not getting a teretz. What does he do? Natal Yochanan Sadin, he takes matters into his own hands. Upiras Aleha. And he spreads it over the sukkah. So, Rav Eliezer, the guest, what does he do? Hivshil Rav Eliezer talis lachar. He takes his talis, he takes his cloak, slings it over his shoulder, the yatza. And Ganuk Shai, he leaves the sukkah. Yochanan, what are you doing? You're putting things over the sukkah. He leaves. Where is he spreading it? Yeah. That we don't know. That would maybe depend on if you're learning if it didn't sukkah or not. But at the moment, we're going with Rashi's pshat. It's a little bit easier. It's even easier for the continuation of the Gemara. It's Hilchos Shabbos Shayla. So he leaves. Says the Gemara, comments the Gemara. We're 5 lines from the bottom. Loi mipnei, this is new. She'efligu b'dvarim. Why did Rav Eliezer leave? Rav Eliezer did not leave because he argued. She'efligu b'dvarim, that he differed with his words. Rav Eliezer was not protesting and saying it was usher to do what you did. Ella, you know why he left? Mipnei shaloi amar davar. Rav Eliezer never said over anything. Shaloi shama mipi rabbi. That he never heard from his Rebbe, lo ilam. He never repeated something that he didn't hear from his Rebbe. So Rav Eliezer didn't have a Kabbalah. He didn't know the answer. He on his own might have thought of an answer, but he never said over Torah that he did not hear from his Rebbe. And therefore, he left the sukkah because he didn't know. And therefore, he's leaving. End of story. Good, interesting. Maisa.
So why is he leaving?
He's leaving because he didn't know. He's Pirish. He didn't know. That's what the Gemara says. He's not leaving because he's paskening and he's saying whatever. Actually, let's look at Rashi together. Rashi is a fine nuance here. Rashi 4 lines on the wide lines. Rashi is really pointing out something else. Rashi, let me say it a little bit better. Rashi is pointing out that not why did he leave? Why did he not answer him? I don't understand. Rabbi Eliezer, you're sitting in the sukkah. The guy's asking you what to do. Number 1, you don't answer. Number 2, you don't answer. And then finally he says, well, you're not going to answer me, you leave. Why don't you answer him? So the Gemara is commenting, he did not answer him because he wanted to argue with him and to push him off. Shalim lo Torah, niskavin ela shlei amar. You know why? Because he didn't hear an answer from his Rebbe, and therefore he didn't have a Kabbalah. He's not going to say over Psak Halacha. Interesting story. Now, the Gemara doesn't really comment on that part of the story. The Gemara is a different kasha. Let's remember, who's Rabbi Eliezer? Rabbi Eliezer, if you look all the way on the top line of this Amud, what did Rabbi Eliezer hold? Ein yoitzin mi sukkah l'sukkah. Rabbi Eliezer had a unique shita. You have to be in one sukkah for 7 days. 1 second, when did Rabbi Eliezer show up to visit Yochanan? Shabbos on Yontif, asks the Gemara, 4 lines on the bottom. How did he do this? Rabbi Eliezer is the one that holds. You're not allowed to go from one sukkah to the next. And Rashi points out, so how did he come for Shabbos? Sounds like it's the middle of Sukkot and he's coming for Shabbos. Fascinating question. Answers the Gemara an even more fascinating answer. Regel acher havai. It wasn't Sukkot. He was there for Shabbos. So what were they doing in the sukkah? It was a nice place to. It was there for Shabbos. He went for Shabbos, but it was a different yontif. Meaning, it wasn't Sukkot. Excuse me. Yeah, it was Pesach. For Pesach, he went to visit his Rebbe on Shabbos, and they went outside, a beautiful canopy. Happened to have been a sukkah, and they went there. So now, by the way, it's very geshmak l'fi Rashi that the kasha had nothing to do. Very good. Kasha had nothing to do with Hilchas Sukkah because it wasn't a sukkah. It was Punkta Shayla Hilchas Shabbos. Says the Gemara. 1 second. What was Rabbi Eliezer's response in this whole story? Rabbi Eliezer's response was, V'omer Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer was one that held Mishabeach Aniyas Atzlonim. I praise the lazy ones, that they don't leave their houses. Beregel, excuse me. So says the Gemara, 1 second. Go back to the previous story with Rabbi Eliezer. What did the previous story with Rabbi Eliezer say? On every yontif, you should be rejoicing with your family. So very good. It's not Sukkot, but it's Pesach. What's he doing there, Pesach? Answers the Gemara, Shabbos Avai. So we have a fascinating story over here. It wasn't Yontif. It was Shabbos. They're in a sukkah, not because of Sukkot. It was a shayla about Hilchas Shabbos, and he didn't answer, nothing to do with the fact he didn't want to answer him. He didn't have a Kabbalah from his Rebbe. What's fascinating with this, we stop, is because definitely, if you would just have this brisa cut out, this story, Rabbi Eliezer goes to meet Yochanan, and Yochanan asks him, what should I do? Yochanan asks him, what should I do? Yochanan does this, Rabbi Eliezer leaves. End of brisa. You would come to so many conclusions, which our Gemara is saying are not true. You would assume it's Sukkot, he was in a Sukkah. You would assume it's Hilchas Sukkah. You would assume that he didn't want to paskin for him. And the Gemara is explaining none of the above. And it's a beautiful, actually, ashlama to the whole daf, as we're bringing in all Rabbi Eliezer's. We're going to stop here. We're going to continue a lot more tomorrow, wanting to know why. You know what? Because I feel like the Chevra is going to leave anyway. So let's just go one more line. Let's go one more line because we're mamish in the middle of an Indian, and we're going to do a strong push tomorrow. I'm going to send out a Chazar b'siyat Shmaya early, so we do a strong push for a Chazar tomorrow. 2 lines to the bottom. It's literal in the middle of a sentence. Covered lag b'ayim. We'll go one down more, and who knows? Maybe this is Rav Elazar Rav Shimon. You never know. V'tiv shalei mididei asks the Gemara. 1 second. Rav Eliezer didn't want to answer the shayla. Why not? Because he didn't have a Kabbalah from his Rabbi. 1 second. Why didn't Rav Eliezer answer from his own Shita? What's his own Shita? Detanam, we learned in a Mishnah. A complicated sugi in Hilchas Shabbos. We're going to make life very simple. Pika kachalon. We have a window shutter. Rav Eliezer Omer. You know, this is silly. This is my Yitzhahara. I'm stopping. I'm stopping. Sometimes you have to know when to stop because it.
About Rabbi Eliezer, because
No.
just come from Pesach. It's a massive Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shua, Rabbi Tafon.
No.